Hello and welcome to Zasaa Zooms In. Today I spoke to a friend of mine called Lola. Now this is the first time that you have seen her, but I am sure you will see her again and again. And we spoke about the imposter syndrome. That thing that makes you think that you are not good enough, or that makes you kind of question your value, your worth, your ability. We spoke about it. Because I think it's certainly something that I face pretty much daily. Um, and I think that a lot of women face it, but I don't think it's unique to women. Anyway, this is what we had to say. Welcome to Zasaa Zooms In. I've got Lola with me today. She's a new guest, hasn't been on, so be kind. Hello, my darling.
Hello.
Thank you for coming.
Thank you for having me.
We're having a conversation today about something that I think is really interesting because I don't know. Well, I was going to say, I'm always saying this thing about I don't know about men because I don't know about men. But I think it's true for everybody to be fair. But I think with women in particular, particularly when we've taken the time off work and whatever, and then go back to work, we have this challenge, imposter syndrome. What is imposter syndrome?
That's a good question. How do you articulate it? I think it's just feeling that you don't have a seat at the table. I think that's the easiest way for me to describe it.
So why
you're at the table, but you think and you're feeling.
Oh, so you're at the table.
You're already at the table.
But you don't feel like.
But you don't feel like you deserve to be there or you're qualified to be there.
So why do you think that? Okay, so let's just do women since we're women. Yeah. I mean, I do think it's true for everybody.
Yeah.
Why do you think that? Because I know for me, for a fact, absolute fact, when it comes to my abilities, I kind of always undersell myself. Always undersell myself. And it's not because, sometimes you can undersell yourself so you can over deliver.
Yeah.
That's not why I do
that's
it.
Not it. Yeah.
It's actually because I think if I don't deliver, at least they won't be expecting me to deliver or something, so there's that thing of overselling. I'm getting a bit better and I've tried and over the years I've tried. But and I don't even know if it's because, I started at the beginning by saying, especially if you've had time out from, I don't even know if it's that because I think I've had this thing all my life.
For a while. I think there's a part of, for me anyway, there's a part of you that thinks, I can do this. It's straightforward, sometimes simple, easy for me. So you think other people can do it too. So why are you special? Why that's what I think.
Okay.
That goes through my mind a lot because I think, I thought of this or, at work in a meeting or something and you think, okay, I'm sure somebody else. I mean, it's such a basic thing.
You see, but that's almost something that comes naturally to you. And it's funny because people say, it comes so naturally. But when something comes naturally to you, I feel like sometimes you don't really appreciate.
That's exactly it. Yeah. You don't
because
appreciate it.
It's normal.
It's normal.
Easy, so what's the big deal?
And
so
you think it comes naturally to other people.
So you don't realize how big it is.
Meanwhile, some people may want to pay big money for that very thing.
We need to find those people.
So that's the key. Connecting with those people.
Because I feel like, people are always saying to me that I'm very talented. And I now have kind of accepted that I am. But I still don't necessarily get paid what I should for my talents. Partly because I would do, and maybe that's the other thing, because they come so easy to me, I almost feel like I can do it for free now. What's the point?
Yeah.
So how do we get past this now? Because I really need to put my talents into money.
I think the key is just getting out there more. And seeing, because the more you see what people are doing, the more you meet people that sometimes are not even as qualified, not to talk of talented as you, commanding, for example, pay or it may not be pay, maybe exposure, maybe audiences that are so large, and you're thinking, well, I could do that, I can. And I think that gives you confidence to kind of, the next time you're in a situation like that, you're okay.
A friend of mine had, so obviously that I kind of accidentally do MC type work. Yeah. And a friend of mine called me and she wanted to have this event that she was going to have once a month and she wanted me to MC it. And she said, this is business, I want to pay you. So I'm like, I don't even know what to charge. So I said to her, okay, since you're insisting on paying, you just, pay me. And she paid me £100 an hour. And that since that day, anybody that asks me for my price for that role, I charge them £100 an hour because she gave me the confidence to know that this is what this is worth. You know what I mean? And I like in fact the day she paid the money to my account, I called her. I said, "Did you push
sure?" But then that's a good person
that
that knows your worth. Not everyone is like that.
No. I mean, like
everyone is really looking at their bottom line and they're looking to get the best. And it's I think one of the realizations that I've come to as a grown person and as an adult is that you have to go and get stuff yourself. Nobody's gonna, you might be lucky, and get, but generally people won't give you stuff. You have to go and ask for it and get it.
But you see, you say that, but that's not that easy.
It's not.
Do you know what I mean? To go and ask for it and get it, you kind of almost have to be confident enough to know that you are worth it. And that's back to the same problem of the imposter syndrome. So the reason that I know I'm worth £100 an hour for MC work is because she told me that. Yeah. Now I'm sure that there are people that charge £300 an hour for MC work. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. There's, so £100 an hour is probably not that much, but I would have done it for free. Yeah. So for me, £100 an hour is like, okay, that's good. But I now told myself from that day, I said, I'm never, if anybody asks me for MC work,
give them your rate.
£100 an hour is the absolute minimum I'll give them just because. But she gave me that confidence to do that.
But that's progress. That is progress. Yes. And the thing is, you will come to another scenario where you're thinking, oh, I can't do that, or they don't need me, or that, and then that's another hurdle for you. Now, some people don't have that problem. Some women don't have that problem, and they just kind of get on with it. But I think it's always going to be a journey. The key is to keep moving. Just make sure that you're taking the next step and the next step, and you're not going back.
It's so funny you said some women don't have that problem. I remember years ago, there's a particular friend of mine, and I used to work with her, and she wanted to do something specific. She saw herself in, and that thing of when you see yourself in that position. Mm-hmm. She saw herself in that position. She was not very good at it. In fact, she was quite bad at it. But 4 or 5 years later, she was in that position. And I remember talking to another friend of mine saying, we are obviously the fools here because she's gone ahead and done what she needed to do. Because then we were thinking, she's deluded. Does she actually? But she had fixed it so much in her mind that she actually, that imposter syndrome, maybe she went through it. Actually, I should probably even speak to her. But you know what I mean? I don't know if she went through it, but it didn't look like that to us looking. We just saw this person who was hungry, who knew what she wanted and literally went for it and got there. Yeah. And I had to say, okay.
And then sometimes at some point in your life, you're thinking, okay, it's either I stand still and don't do this thing, or I just take the plunge and go for it. It's just something. I mean, one of the things I get involved in quite a few things, getting women involved in politics and getting women
I want us to actually talk about
into the boardroom
on another day.
And one of the things we kind of joke about is, you see a job description or I don't know, a role or something, a man sees it and he's like, I could do that, whether or not he can, and he applies within hours. As women, we can take up to a year or 6 months because we're thinking, okay, will I be able to do it? Because we've been trained to kind of make sure everything is in order. Yeah. The house is in order. The children are eating well, they're in order, So we're socialized to behave, to think that way, that we have to get everything in order to do it. But, one of the ladies that leads us in the Women in Politics group says, you don't have to be together. You don't have to be perfect. You don't have to be ready-made to get in there. And as we're seeing, specifically with politics anyway, I don't need to say too much about what's going on out there.
But it's true. It's funny because I heard that, or I think I was at some conference and they said that a man will see a job offer and he will have like 10 things you have to have. He will have 2 and he will apply. Yeah. But a woman will not apply till she has 9.
Because even the whole thing.
Even the whole 10. Yeah. And the funny thing is that sometimes it also takes somebody else to show you that you have those things, because a lot of time we have the 10 but we don't identify them as that. So we're not, and I'm one of those people that I'm not, I don't know if that's I don't even know what it is, but I'm not willing to, I almost feel like I'm a fraud if I go to a job to saying I can do these things when I know I can't do them. Now I know a lot of people will go and learn on the job. Like somebody was saying to me, like, you just fake it till you make it, and I'm like, I'm not sure.
I found out that a lot of people did that. I'm like, really? I've never ever, and to each his own. But I just found out that people would kind of fudge their CVs, and like, yet I would never have had the guts to do something like that, because
like they will ask you a question and then
you're like, what are you gonna
answer?
do? Kind of thing. But I guess if you have the
I don't know. It's a really strange one now, because I feel like a lot of people, like you said, I found out that a lot of people did do that and got to places because of doing that. So I guess it's almost about just having the confidence in yourself to blag through or something. I don't know. But I don't know that I have that confidence.
I don't have that, and I wouldn't even do that, to be honest. I think whilst I agree that if you're looking at a job role, for example, and you're 70-80% qualified, I would still say go for it. But I wouldn't put myself up for something that I'd get to an interview and look stupid, or even get the job, and then look like a fraud. I mean, I think the key is to prepare yourself for whatever it is you're doing, and it's not just in jobs. Sometimes with our passions, sometimes people have ideas, things in them that they're so scared to birth, because they're thinking, well, maybe somebody else is doing it, or maybe nobody will respond to me, or maybe people won't think I'm credible. To do that. So it's just about preparing yourself and then putting yourself out there. But I think a key help for me has just been trying to meet as many people as possible.
Well, how does that help?
I just
because you see that everybody else is as bad as
everybody's winging it. I mean, I spend a lot of time in boardrooms, and I'm just like, whoa, okay. Well, I'm at the same level now. What are you talking about? But a lot of times people are just so confident, and they say things, and I'm like, oh, okay. I thought of that.
I think there's actually so, because I fell into a role recently, and there's something about being thrown in at the deep end that forces you to swim.
Yes.
So there's also that aspect of it that because I just found myself. I mean, my boss kept saying to me, "I know you can do it," so that's why he threw me in.
Yeah.
But I mean, I was so angry to be thrown in, because I'm like, no, I don't want to. But I came up swimming quite.
I'm glad you mentioned your boss, because that's, for me personally, that has been very crucial. I had a boss who just refused to not believe in me. Like, what of course you can. I need you to be, speaking up more in the boardroom. I need you to be, you have these, because we'll have a meeting, a one-to-one, and I'm really, and then it's like, well, when we're in the boardroom, you're quiet. Why are you quiet? I need to hear your voice in this business. And that really, and he kind of really, really helped me. And he's like my age. It's not like he's much older or anything like that. So he obviously had that confidence, and he was whatever, but he was able to support me to kind of be myself a bit more, to speak up, and him saying your ideas are, of course your ideas are great, helped me to then think, okay, maybe and then you say it, and everybody's like, oh, okay, we haven't thought of that.
Let me throw a spanner amongst the words now. We both live in the UK, and we're both Black women.
Yeah.
Do you think that at any point that has been part of the reason for your imposter syndrome or not? I mean, we're slightly different in the sense that we grew up in Nigeria, so Nigeria comes with the confidence.
Yeah.
But do you think that has had any?
I think for me, as a Black woman, that I wasn't born or raised here, so I don't have any connection to the UK beyond, moving here to study at university level. I don't have the background of, I mean, maybe different for you because you have family that are English. So I don't have that social background. So for a lot of things, it's been learning to acclimatize to the culture and just thinking, you're an outsider. You saying it this way may not sit well with them because this is how you do it. So there's been, obviously, I've been here a while now, so it's better. You're kind of probably more British than I'm Nigerian now, which is what it is. I've lived here longer than I lived in Nigeria. So for me, I would say yes. and I still kind of, for example, with like I said before, I do a little bit of politics here and there. I think I've always been interested in politics from Nigeria. I was, my father was a politician in Nigeria, even though that didn't influence me. But yeah, he did. And it was a long time ago. None of the new crop of politicians. Just to clarify, back in the day when there was a little bit of integrity. Anyway, so I've always been. But when I came here, I just didn't feel that I could engage because I thought this is not my country. They wouldn't accept me. And I have faced some stuff on the doorstep when you're kind of going. There's always I'm not going to vote for her because she's black, but that happens. Not a lot, but it has happened. So I've always I do believe that makes it. Now I don't know if a black British woman born and raised in the UK who has been socialized growing up in the UK would have had the same experience, but I certainly felt that I was different and I didn't necessarily. Of course, when you look at some of the things, you don't see people that look like us at the top tables. Well, maybe now it's getting better, but certainly when I was in my 20s, there was nothing like that. We had one black female MP back then. So for me, it has been something I've had to work through. And this country is actually a great because I've lived in America. Okay. I was a student, so lived there for a short while. And I think for me, this is the most tolerant country in the world, in my opinion. I think you're right. I think it's easier to kind of, make it with everything. We have issues, but it still provides opportunities for us to, and I see it, and it's changing even with the next generation. Our children growing up.
But it's really interesting because for me, I mean, as I asked that question, I was smiling to myself because I'm thinking. Obviously, I'm as much white as I am black, but people don't look at me and think I'm necessarily white or I have white blood in me. But I've never, I understand that there's a thing about being a black woman. And my mom actually brought us up to understand that, nobody's going to look at you and see white in you. They're going to see a black woman. So understand that that's how you be addressed. But when I was asking the question, I was thinking, I'm not sure that I've ever even thought about that because I don't necessarily think of myself that way. Do you know what I mean? So I know I'm a black woman. I do know that, but I don't necessarily. It's not. I guess it's probably easier for me than for you, if you know what I mean. That it's not. I mean, I'm still identified as a black person, but I think there's that skin tone. This colorism thing again. I'm lighter, I'm closer to So I don't. I'm sure.
But do you find that makes a difference to?
Look, I want to do I want to do a PhD on this because I just feel like this whole thing of being mixed race. And the whole, it's just a kind of worms that I just feel like I want to get in there and understand. But I think it has its pros and its cons. Yeah. You know what I mean? And it's one of my friends said to me years ago, and I remember being quite like shocked. But I stopped to think about it, and she said to me, "What if the greatest gift that God gave you is the fact that you're mixed race?" And I was like, do you know what I mean? I was like, what? And I know that my mom has always said to me, you can fit into either, you can play each role. So you are versatile. You can, you know what I mean? Which is probably the same thing as what my friend was saying. But I'd never looked at it like that. And I started thinking, if that is one of my gifts or one of the things that I should be exploring in terms of how, I don't even know what to do with that, but you know what I mean?
But just, I also wonder if, obviously you were raised in, you were born here and then you went back, but you were raised in Nigeria for most of your growing up.
I was born there.
I thought you were born here.
Born and brought
There you go, I learned something new. But anyway, you're raised in Nigeria, so you already had probably issues of people making your skin color a thing. Yeah. Whereas, I always kind of refer to what Chimamanda wrote. I think either she said it or she wrote it. She said, "Look, I didn't realize I was black till I came to America because nobody, I'm like, okay, calm down already. But it's a thing, but you would have experienced some of that, either colorism.
But you see, it's so interesting you say that because again, and I don't even know how much of this I want to say on camera, but again, so obviously, back home, they would say Oyinbo.
Yes.
Which means light skin.
Yes.
But the people that said Oyinbo were not my crew. It was people that saw me, people as on the streets, people that were not in my circle. Within my circle, I was Tinuke.
Yeah. Okay.
I was never, no, everybody knew I had a white mother, but
Yeah.
it was never,
An issue.
I don't remember it ever being an issue. We knew,
But
I mean,
it
obviously I
wasn't.
knew that people called me Oyinbo, but it wasn't a thing.
Yeah.
And then obviously when I came to England, sometimes people would, the odd person, I was in York, so we were one of the only few black people there. And, but it wasn't even racist as such. It was almost more curiosity. Like, oh my gosh, you're is it,
Yes,
that's what, and I
yeah.
never took it as racism, but I got that, you're black in England, you're Oyinbo in Nigeria,
yeah.
kind of thing. But I always say this thing, I did not know that I was yellow until I started moving in a particular community in London. All of a sudden, my skin color, and I said it to my husband once, and he cracked up. I said, I almost feel, and this is, I mean, it's tongue in cheek. I said, I almost feel like Martin Luther King, because it's like everything is about my color, and I've never had that before, where everything is about my color. It's in conversations. There's a particular friend I have that there's no conversation I have with her that she doesn't refer to the color of my skin.
Really?
So how is your yellow? I see your fine yellow, and it's always yellow. Not even. Do you know what I mean? So I get what Chawanda means by, like, I thought, oh my gosh, I've suddenly realized that it's not that I didn't know I was light skinned, but that thing of
but
being
the thing
yellow,
is, it's a factor for other people though, and they're bringing it up to you.
Yes,
It's
you know
not,
what I mean. So I think I get that, and I find that I struggle more with that than with the Oyinbo thing, because I said that within my group of people, in my people, that's, as far as I'm concerned, are educated,
exposure,
have experience, exposed. Thank you. None of them would turn around and call me Oyinbo or refer to the color of my skin in anything. But in my community, there are many.
But it may just be that as well. What you said, something kind of similar to what happened in New York, where they weren't used to seeing people with that skin tone. If there's in my family, we have
all colors.
Filipino cousins, I have Mexican cousins, I have Icelandic cousins. So I have a story that I always tell. It was so funny. My dad's younger brother married an English woman, and she had a son before she married him. He was older than me.
And he was fully white.
He was fully white. Oh, he is fully
white. Yeah.
So they moved back to Nigeria. Obviously, by the time I was born, they were an established family, because her first child from my uncle is older than me. But honestly, and then obviously my uncle adopted him, so his surname was the same as ours. I'm not gonna lie, I must have been about, because nobody ever said anything. We all just got on with our cousin. I must have been about 16. And I was like, this chap is not. He can't be. He's fully white. He's got lovely blonde hair. But he grew up in Nigeria. He went to Jos. He was. But it was, so that's so stark to me, because we went through an entire childhood and it never came up. It never crossed my mind that this guy is not my uncle's biological son, because he had the same surname and everything. And it just, it makes you realize that all of this stuff is just social contact. I think we're just starting to be that. I was that grown before I kind of started thinking that this guy he's not. But it didn't matter. He was our cousin, or he's our cousin. We all did the same things together. And I think, tellingly enough, none of the adults ever. It was never a thing, which was probably why we didn't think. Oh, is he one of us? So I think, that I don't know, that's such a sensitive topic, because it could go anyway, people.
Absolutely, and it's one of those things that you don't. I can probably guess away talking about it because I'm the one that's in the mix. So I can be like, I can. It's the same way that I can refer to myself as half caste.
Yes, and nobody else can. Nobody else dare say that.
Because that's politically incorrect.
Absolutely.
But I actually have a challenge with some of these politically incorrect, but that's another thing entirely.
It's all something. Rules.
Yes, it's like sometimes it's like,
come on, let's be sensible and just get away with it.
Yeah, But yes, I think that, coming back to imposter syndrome, I don't think that my color has been a big factor in that for me.
Okay.
Just because I never really, like I said, it's only in the last how many years that I realized I was yellow. Prior to that, I was just me. It was, and
so is that internally? How about externally, in terms of how people treat
the truth of the matter is that if they have,
you haven't picked up on it.
And it's funny because I had this issue with my son where one of his teachers was being racist to him.
Okay.
And he didn't say anything. It was two parents of other sons in his class that called me, two white parents, to say to me, look, you need to address this thing, because their sons had obviously spoken to, and I was like, I toyed with it for a while, and I said, I don't want to call that race card, because once you bring the race card in, and he didn't appear to have. So I said to him, he said, oh yeah, I know, but so I said, oh, the way you can do that is just excel. Yeah. So that just excel, and let's leave it at that. So that's how I left it with him. But then something happened with my youngest daughter recently, where apparently a teacher overheard another kid saying something racial to her. So they called me to say, this is what's happened. We heard it. How would you like us to deal with this? That we've already spoken to his parents about, but how would you like us to deal with it? So I said, well, and they called literally as it happened. So she wasn't home from school at the point of the call. So I said, well, let her get home, and then I'll have a chat with her and see. And she got home, and so I was trying to have the chat without saying, and she didn't. So after a while, when I finally got to the guy's name, and I, said, oh, so who is he? I've never heard his, because she'd always talk about things. And then she said, oh, he's just, he's always bullying people. She said something that, So I was like, okay, has he ever bullied you? She said, I don't know. And she walked off. So I thought, well, do you know what? She didn't notice. So I called back the head teacher and I said, look, this is what's happened. I'd rather you just leave it, because I don't want to even start giving her building the thing that he was being. Yeah. If she didn't notice it, if she didn't feel it was something to talk about. But in doing all of that, I always think, is that the right thing to do? Because we're now letting him get away. Well, I mean, he didn't get away with it because they kind of dealt with it. Yeah. But you know what I mean? Should we be pulling people up on? Yeah. So I don't know. It's a tough one,
especially with the children. For me, I'm just now beginning to understand, some of the nuances of all these microaggressions, as they call them. Because look, if you had asked me 15 years ago and I've told you there's no racism in the UK, only because I didn't notice it. If you're mean to me, I just think you're a mean person. I probably won't think it's because
of your skin color. That's exactly how
I'm black. But I think raising the children and them having this example you gave of your son, I can bet you every mother of every black boy has a story like that. I have a couple myself. It's just, and before he started school, I had older women telling me that you're going to face, you better pray and make sure you're watching. And I just said to them, don't be silly. He's in a very sophisticated school. They're civilized people in the school. They won't behave like that. Yeah. But it did happen. And there was a lot of the ones you couldn't pin down, but then there was one or two that were there was nowhere around. You had to kind of face it. And I think for me, the dilemma is, do you start telling these children? Because what I don't want is, I don't want them to grow up to be victims.
Yeah, and I don't want them
because
to say
I'm black.
Yes, exactly.
No,
because I'm always saying that. I always say to them, and especially to my boys, that black boys in the UK, you need to prove yourself. Yes. You just need. So I say that, but that's kind of as far as I take it, because I'm now like,
you don't want to put that in their mind, but at the same time, I think you need to let because I tell my son that if you're going out, and I learned this from another friend of mine who said it years ago. She said, if you're out with your friends and there's trouble, two things: try to, if you have the influence to stop it, you do. Otherwise, you remove yourself immediately, because the treatment that your friend Joe, or whatever his name is, will get, it's going to be different to what you get. The benefit of doubt that and that's the reality, and they need. I think they need to know that. So I try to say that in a subtle way. Because also, like you said, I don't want them to kind of feel everything, because it's not. Like I said, I stand by, this is the most tolerant country that I've been to anywhere. And I know we have a lot of work to do, but I think we can only get it done by because some people want to overturn the system.
No, you can't do that.
And okay, no, now it's time for black, and I'm thinking that's not going to solve anything. You're just doing exactly what you're saying was done to you. So I'm always looking for a positive solution. I do some community work. So a community leader was telling me that they wanted to do an initiative on equalities and things. I said to him, so he said to me that he wanted me to kind of, and I just said, look, I only join if we have a positive outcome. I don't want any of the extremes, either the extreme that are saying that everybody is racist and so, black people are the victims. And I also don't want the extreme that denies, so for me, it's always about how do we make a positive change. What has happened, but how can we
How
move
come
forward?
yes, and I think that's the important thing, and I think sometimes it's important to know what has happened.
Yeah.
Because you need to know the history,
Yeah.
but don't dwell.
Don't dwell.
Dwell in it. Don't
Don't
dwell
hold
in
on
it. Just
to it.
like
Yeah.
So, but I think it is a very
Acknowledge it, yeah.
Yeah.
But what can we do to live as one? Because we're not going. Nobody's going anywhere.
Yeah.
We have to work it out. So
Yeah, interesting. So we left Imposter
So
Syndrome.
we're talking about Black Lives Matter.
But this always happens on Zasaa Zooms, and that's why I say you start the conversation and it literally you go into every other thing. So from an imposter syndrome point of view, I guess the thing is to get out there, believe in yourself more, and maybe blag it sometimes.
You've got
because I think that's just what you have to do. And I think the truth of the matter is that we probably have it in us.
Yeah.
We just have to, like, I almost needed that my friends to pay me that money to know that I was worth that. It's almost like, I think that thing.
But that's going out there. That's surrounding yourself with people that.
I guess so. And like what you said about your boss and what I said about my boss, and it's also having the right people around you that believe in you and can push you and whatnot. Not the ones that take advantage of you. Because I feel like I have in my life a lot of people who see my talents and just use them.
Yeah.
But don't do what that other friend did and say, actually, you are really good at this. I'm going to pay you for it. Because even if she had said to me, okay, I'll pay you every other month. Or something, I would have taken, because I would have done it for her for free. But she was like, no, this is a business thing and I will pay. I'm a businesswoman, I will pay you. So you know what I mean? So I think
an ethical person.
It's and I think it's important. So surround yourself with the right people. Believe in yourself. And like just go for it.
Go for it.
I'm speaking to myself.
And it's a journey, because every time you face a new one, you've got to, get that oomph to put yourself.
Well, it's so funny because I think somebody was saying to me, because people think I'm very confident, and if I'm describing myself, confidence is not a word I would put in there. Not because I know I come across as confident, but I know what I do to come across as confident. And somebody was saying to me one day, because at church they couldn't find someone to do the opening prayer, and they came to ask me at the last minute. Well, not last minute, but they gave me a little. And somebody was saying to me that I could never do that. And I was like, it's not that I can do it. It's that I know how to, what needs to be done to do that. So I've mastered that in that field of public speaking. Yeah. But I need to now master that in other fields. Do you get what I mean? So I know that, okay, it's something you can do it. Okay, you don't like doing it. You're not really, but you can enter the. I always say that, I think I've said it on here before, where when Beyonce spoke about Sasha Fierce,
I was just, oh my God, I was just gonna.
The way she said it, there was a whole, especially with Christians and everything. I said, what does she mean? She has an alter ego, whatever. And I was like, I know exactly what you mean, girl. You literally have to put on that other person that is the confident person. You know what I mean?
Somebody kind of did a Twitter thread about how if you're suffering from imposter syndrome, you can have an alter ego, and then they used the Beyonce example, which I'd never actually considered before. They're like, just what would this person do? What can they do that you'd want to do? Write it down, and then take on that person. And I thought, okay, I'm gonna try this at my next board meeting.
So I actually have my confidence Tinuke. So that's why I won't refer to myself as confident, because I don't feel like the real Tinuke is that confident. But I have a confident Tinuke that I can tap into. That I for certain things I just enter. I'm just like, okay. So now but if it's funny, because there was a particular gentleman who I spoke to you about earlier. He was watching me one day and he saw it happen. He saw the transformation. Like she was meek or whatever, and she just stepped into this thing. And then as soon as she came off stage, she went straight back into the thing. And he came to me and he was like, so if you watch, you will see. But generally, what you see is that confident person. So everybody's like, oh, she's confident. So sometimes just step into your alter ego.
And just do it. I think what I do now, if the opportunity comes up, just say yes. For example, I was telling you I spoke at a conference last week, and they asked me back in, I think, June or something, and I just said yes. Not that I wanted to do it, but I just thought to myself, if you don't do it, 1 year from now, you wouldn't have done it, and you wouldn't, you would. I just
It's an
thought,
experience worth having.
and I was terrified. I was, I was sitting on the stage with, senior people, and we finished it, and everybody came up and like, oh, da 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 da, and all of that. But I still didn't believe them. I told you, I was like, I'm still like, no, I should have said this. I didn't say that properly. I didn't. And I just said, come on, get over yourself. All this. I had people coming up to me the next day, and saying, oh, I really enjoyed your talk. And, I like your advice on things. And I still didn't. I just thought they're just being nice. They don't want me to feel bad.
But you see, what is that? Because I have that thing as well. I always feel like, so from certain people I will take it because I know this one is not trying to toast me. It's not, this one is actually just, they do, there's no reason for them to. But for other people, I'm like, I'm not really sure whether that was, and I don't know what that is. Why can't I just say, I say thank you. I do say thank you. But inside you, like, why can't I just receive? Because I always feel like, and you know what I did? Because obviously I recently turned 50. And
you did?
Yeah.
Ooh,
and people did people did tributes.
Yeah.
And I said to myself, okay, I'm going to listen to what they say. Because that is something that's quite hard for me. Like, I don't like that I don't like that thing. So I'm still going through the tributes. I mean,
I can imagine.
I'm like, I want to hear what they said, and I want to see whether I identify with
it.
What they're saying. And also, because of the people that have done it, it's not, they're genuine. It's not just people trying to sweeten me up for anything. To actually hear what they're saying and pick out the traits that they have and look and say, okay, so if people think you are kind, why don't you? Or what, you know what I mean? To try and actually
That's
work
a very
out.
good exercise. I did that as part of some leadership training I was doing, and they said, I must have asked you as well. I asked, I don't know, 20, 30 of your friends to describe you
in 3 words. I do that all the time.
And I put it on a spreadsheet, and I just thought there were some words that just kept coming out that I didn't even know people noticed that about me. Which in my mind I'd been trying to manifest, but was not confident enough, or I thought I wasn't being. And to see people notice that about me was actually quite affirming, and made me think, okay, you can, you can be bold and you can kind of step out. But I don't know what the solution is. I think it's a journey. I think so. You just keep, for me, it's just keep making sure that you're moving forward.
I think yes, keep making sure you're moving forward. And I think the key thing is to actually know that you're braver than you think, you're bolder. What's that? There's a thing that says you're braver than you think, stronger than you know. You actually are. I think we undersell ourselves as
particularly as women. I think that's.
So I think if we just know that we're slightly more than we think we are, then that just helps us take the next step to do the moving forward and whatnot.
And then everybody's winging it. Everybody from the prime minister to the CEO or whatever, we're all winging it.
Winging it.
Why not you?
No, it's true.
Why not you?
Gosh.
But I think that I tried for the, and there's something about our generation, maybe, certainly for me, that maybe hasn't really encouraged that confidence. With my kids, I just try to, anywhere they are, wherever you are, you're supposed to be there. If they gave you, I don't know, admission to something or a school or whatever, you're supposed to be there. You're as good as everyone else. So that they begin to feel comfortable in these spaces. I mean, the world is better for them as well. So I think, hopefully, it will be an easier journey.
But I also think, having said this whole thing about imposter syndrome, I also feel like there's a plus to it in the sense that maybe there's not a plus, but I feel like because I was saying when you were talking, I was thinking, I wonder if there's anybody out there that doesn't have imposter syndrome.
Oh yeah.
And you think there are people that don't have it?
Oh yeah. That don't have it.
Yeah, that don't have it.
Yeah.
That actually, so that's what I was saying. That maybe there's a plus to it. So they actually think they're the business, and they're probably not.
Anybody in any workplace will identify and right now I can think of like 3 people that I work closely with.
So actually confirming what I was going to say.
They're the least qualified usually.
So that's what I was just going to say. So maybe imposter syndrome gives you a bit of humility.
Yeah.
That it doesn't give you because I almost feel like I have a friend who is very big physically. And she always says to me that she knows that the reason she's like this is because if she was slim, she would be so in decently dressed.
She'll be showing off.
It's so indecently. So I almost feel like sometimes there's the balance of, you know, if you don't feel that you know what I mean. But I think we still have to kind of fight. So
it's not a bad thing. In that it's, you know, it's not all bad as you say. I think you could, the key, like fear, like you know how they say fear is good, but you've got to work through it and just say okay, because also what it does is, for me now, if I'm attending a meeting, oh my god, the way I'll be reading, and I know some people don't read. Yeah, and they just come and they're talking and they're going up. I mean, well,
I would be too scared to do that. I would need to.
need to know all the information, then the background information.
Are we control freaks? Is that
what is? I have to admit, I've come to realize that now. I'm a control freak. I need help in that area because let me tell you, our family were somebody said somebody were in you know these those locator things. That you know. And my daughter is like, why do you need to know where I am? As in, what's wrong with you? I'm like, no, it's not that I need to know. But if you're, you know, we need to kind of, if you're coming from it. So I know that. So that one, I think that's because I'm like, she's 20, you know, you don't need to know where she is. And so I tell her, okay, switch off. If you tell us, just switch off your whatever, you know. But there's some, because, you know, she's far away. And also, but mostly I use it for my son because sometimes he walks back from school by himself, and you know, me and black boys, I just, you know, I want to from your doorstep, school doorstep to your home. I don't want any, you know, thing. So I do that for him. But I think I am a control freak. I think I need help. Honestly, no joke.
It's so funny because I think, anyway, we're leaving it there because we could go into this control freak thing and then we're on to this. So we'll leave it there. So this imposter syndrome, just go for it. Go for it. Believe in yourself. Find people around you that can build you up, that believe in you and that can help you to realize how good you are at certain things. But whatever you do, don't let it go to your head and stay humble. Yes.
Agreed.
That's it.
Yeah. Just go for it. Just do it as they say.
All right then. Okay, that's it. Bye. Of course, you can see, not only did we do imposter syndrome, we went everywhere else too, which is becoming like signature to Zasaa Zooms In, and that's fine. We're okay with that. But yeah, imposter syndrome. Do you suffer from it? Have you ever felt like you are not good enough? Have you ever felt like a fraud doing something, like you really shouldn't be in that position? Do you think it's a female thing, or do you think that men suffer from it? Do you think that there's some people that actually don't suffer from it at all? Let us know your thoughts. God bless you.